Hello, race fans. Welcome to another episode of Short Track Guys Podcast, brought to you by ShortTrackExclusives.com. I'm your host, Thomas Battis, alongside two of the same Short Track guys in the studio as always. Jim Pokrant, driver of the 07 Can'tQuitFishing.com Sportsman and 2021 Sportsman Champion. And Ted Baber, who Ted Baber Video Productions, also in the studio with us. What's up, guys?
What's happening? Lots of excitement this week.
Yeah, I can feel it in the air.
It's crackling.
Yep.
That's right.
We have a little recap from Cordeal, I guess, and Watermelon Capital Speedway here. It was a couple of big names that have come and taken the checkered flag back. We do have a special guest that's going to be on here in just a little bit. Wow, we've got some short but sweet news from the 07 camp coming up in 2023 here.
Well, I just want to first of all say thank you to Scott Wicker. I got back one of my old children. I raced back in the early 2000s, my old super stock. Me and Ted went down to Panama City this weekend and drug her out of a mud hole and out from under an old barn and a tree and everything else. It just an old car that has an old Chevelle chassis that Rabbit Davis, anybody who's from this area has been around racing a long time knows who Rabbit Davis was. Clay Brown drove it. A dude named David Spears drove it, God rest his soul. And a man named Tracy Goodson won a ton of races in that car. I got it and ran it a bunch, finished third up in Montgomery, the best finish I had with her, old girl. But it's cool. I got it back. I'm stripping it down. We're going to paint it. We're going to rehang the body on it and make it all nice and pretty again. Now, my car that I'm running now, I'm trying to get a motor together. Anybody out there that wants to help a man get a motor, let me know. We're going to put together another 602 and put it in my car. And I got to thank Ben Cranford for the use of his. I got to get it back to him. The man wants to run it himself. I can't blame him. So it's going to be awesome. Thank you, Ben. Thank you to my crew. And would like to ask for prayers for my crew chief, Martin Beck. He's down in the bed with a blood clot in his leg. Yep. He's not doing well. I just pray for you guys to pray for him for me, please. And that's about it out of my stables.
Well, you've got, I think you've got some other racetrack, I guess. We've been talking about this in previous episodes. You wanted, to get around and visit some other short tracks. Something Citrus County?
Yeah, Ben Cranford wants to go down there in June and run his car with a 602 in it, so we're going to put it together and put him in it and go have some fun. And I want to take that Chevelle down to New Smyrna. That place owes me a race, and I want to get down there and get with it.
Yeah, you've been wanting to get back at that, after what happened. That was one of your bucket lists, and you knocked it off, but it didn't really turn out the way you wanted.
I didn't knock it off the way I wanted to.
Yeah, right.
How about that? I got on the track. I drove around that place. It's awesome, but I want to go back with that wide Chevelle and see how much better we can get around that place.
That wasn't a bucket list. That was more like a teacup list. You barely got it.
Yeah, kind of a little teacup there, but it was fun. It still was a great trip. I enjoyed the fellowship with my friends, and we had a great trip down to Fort Lauderdale and then back to the racetrack and then back home. Cool weekend, enjoyed it. We're going to do it again. We'll make another road trip.
We'll take our hillbilly selves back down there and have a good time.
Yeah, our hillbillies. Yeah, that's it. But hey, how about that Bubba Pollard and Augie Grill, son? You talk about a great deal to see two of our guys that we root for on a weekly basis.
Yep.
Get it done in Cordele, Georgia.
Yep, and he's super into pro.
Yeah, well, Bubba drove for James Finch, and it was a Seneca car. He normally runs Port City, which we do a Port City shout out, and we talk about Port City cars. Well, Bubba couldn't get his car back from California in time.
No.
Read an article this week where Bubba is going to be running several other different chassis, possibly a Fury, Port City, and a Seneca this year. It doesn't matter to him. It's a race car. It's got four wheels and a steering wheel. He'll get it done. Yep. He got it done in a Seneca, which he drove a Seneca for a year. But because of his having to travel, it's going to be hard for him to get his cars because he's going to run the whole Stars, Southern Super Series, and the SRL Series.
That's going to be a wad to get to and get done. So he's going to have some logistical challenges getting that taken
care of. Wouldn't it be cool though? Southern Super Series, Blizzard champion, SRL, and then wins the Stars. That's going to be a thing. And what about Augie?
Oh man, that was great for him to come out and just take them all to task there in the pro late race.
But in a car that he set up and the driver couldn't drive it, so he climbs in it and puts a whooping on him.
Yeah. Justin South was supposed to drive that 43, and for some reason he couldn't make it, and they put Augie in it, and he had already set it up for Justin, And guess what?
Well, he must have been pretty darn familiar with that setup. To go out
Oh,
there.
it had a can of whoop, you know what,
Yeah.
sitting in the passenger side for whoever was going to drive it. And Augie just got to be the lucky guy to open it up.
Yeah.
And a cool number 43, that's even pretty cool there. I mean, he drives an iconic 1112, which we know that's Gary Ballou's number,
Right.
but to drive the 43 and win and it to be Augie, yeah, heck yeah, awesome deal, man. That made me smile from ear to ear when I saw that.
Yeah, that's good news, and it's been a while, really, since he's been in Victory Lane. But I think it's been 2 or 3 years.
No, he think he won in Montgomery last year in the Pro Series and Pro Late models, but he hadn't won a Super race in a long time. So it's probably been a couple of years. You're probably right. You're right about that. It's been about 2 or 3 years since he won a Super race.
Now, modified's a different story.
No, modified, he kicks butt in that BMF chassis car, number 112, of course.
Yep.
But Augie put it on him, son, and to see our boy Bubba the Goat get it done, that's,
Yeah, I think Ted's got the lineup, how the results and
Run
the
down
finish.
the finishes, as we all well know, just heard Bubba Pollard, of course, number 1. He outran Corey Heim, Jake Garcia, Casey Roderick, and Timmy Watson. I want to say Timothy, it's just stuck in my head, with top 5. And then start the second 5 with the Minnesota Missile, William Savalich, Colin Allman, William Byron, Steve Dorr, and Matt Craig, the top 10. It's Gio Ruggiero, 11th, Billy Van Meter, Michael Goddard, Hunter Wright, Tony Elrod, Michael Atwell, Jet Noland, Michael Hind, and I know this is uncharacteristic, but Chase Elliott was in 19th. Johnny Sauter was 20th. And then Nicholas Noggle, Stephen Nassy, Carson Hosebar, John Kaufman, and Dusty Williams. And it's pretty unusual for Nassy to be that low in the standings, too.
Yeah, he broke. But, Chase did an interview and said that he was going to have, he said, you just can't come jump back in one of these cars and run up front. And he had his old crew chief with him. So that was pretty cool, too. Ricky Turner.
Yeah.
So they were reunited. They'll they run some races. They'll do pretty good, I think. But that was pretty neat. I enjoyed seeing that. That was pretty cool of him to show up. Man, there's a bunch of big names in that race. And
Oh, yeah.
our boy to qualify third and then put the smackdown on him and on old tires, too, because he pitted early and Corey Heim pitted later. He was coming with new tires but couldn't get him. So that'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. And then we discussed the pro late race. Obviously, we mentioned Augie Grill won it, and he outran Caden Popple, Michael Hine, Cale Hall, and Dylan Fetcho in the top 5. And Katie Hettinger had a 6th place finish. Bryson Schaefer, Seth Christensen, Brett Suggs, and Cody Hall, a top 10. And Steve Dorr, 11th, Zach Dixon, Jolyn Wilkinson comes in 13th, Robbie Taylor, Spencer Bragg, Johnny Armandia, our good buddy from the
Great state of Texas.
Yep. Kyle McCollum, Joseph Meyer, David Reagan, 19th, Gavin Graham, 20th, Josh Hicks, 21st, and then Benjamin Jones, Dawson Sutton, Nicholas Noggle, and Brian Demlin rounded out the finishing order.
That was a good deal up there. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I think Katie ended up leading a few laps until Augie got by her. I think, coming towards the end, not like 2 laps towards the end, but I think she was leading, and she couldn't hold off Augie. All he had, apparently he had that car set up pretty
That's
good.
the job.
Yeah, he got it done.
That
was a good deal.
Yeah.
Good racing, and glad to see our boys get a win.
We call him local. I mean, Augie, obviously, and I mean, Bubba's close enough.
Bubba says that Five Flags is his home track.
Right.
Every time he talks to somebody and talks to, he said Five Flags Speedway is his home speedway.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, that was a Speed Fest recap with Bubba Pollard and Augie Grill taking the wins in the Super and the Pros. Man, what? Let me just bring this up. Have you guys seen the pictures of the upgrades of North Wilkesboro coming in for the All-Star race?
That looks great.
What do you guys think about that?
I think that's really cool to bring that old place back. I remember being a kid watching those races on TV, and now that it's coming back strong, the All-Star racing, and I guarantee short track racing is going to grow big there.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to run street stocks. That's something we're considering doing, taking a car up there for that street stock race. Who knows? I might get the old super stock out of the hole and put that 358 in there and let her eat.
Good times.
Oh, yeah. Go have some fun.
Yeah,
Why not?
It looks like the transformation that they've got going on at that facility is just, I'm going to throw out Dale Jr. As being an instrument behind all that because the All-Star race is going to probably be the spectacle this year.
Oh, it'll be a good show. Well, this weekend they're running that thing in the Coliseum, and it was a pretty good show last time. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch too. I mean, like I said, we're not Cup guys, but it's a short track.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of beating and banging. There was guys stuffing each other last year, so it'll be pretty interesting this year. And I want to bring up one other thing about the Cup Series, and I think it's dumb, is they told that you can't do what the Watermelon Man did, Ross Chastain did at Martinsville. I think that's silly.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the biggest things that ever happened in NASCAR. I mean, Formula One drivers we're talking about, that's legend.
Yes.
That was so awesome to see him do that. And now they're saying, oh, you can't do that now. If you do it now, you're going to be penalized a lap. Oh, come on, NASCAR.
Really?
Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop being a bunch of bait. Because you know what happened? The big superstars went and cried.
Oh, yeah.
Danny Hamlin probably went, I didn't get make the championship round because he did that. That's not fair.
He did what he had to do to get there. That's all
dude,
there is to
that was big balling right there, son. That's just D's nuts hanging out the passenger window.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
It wouldn't put it past me to have that an SB award.
Yeah.
It
For
should
some
be.
whatever category they have to come up with, but that's an SB award trophy for that kind of move.
It should be the number one award for any sports show in the United States and overseas. Because, dude, you had to have brass, huge, hairy testicles to put that thing in fifth gear and go, I'm going to rim ride this wall right here and see what happens.
Yep.
Stick it on out there.
I mean, I guarantee you, according to things were sparking when he walked. That's just awesome.
I can only see inside the car under the shield with Denny Hamlin's eyes going, what?
Where did he
How
come
was
from?
that?
What just happened?
Well, I mean, I don't think Denny cried. I should take that back. Denny said it was cool. It was Chase Elliott and them that were kind of whining about it.
Well, yeah.
They were the ones doing the most whining. Denny goes, man, that was just cool. What can I say? You know, he didn't say anything about it, but it was Chase and Kyle Larson crying about it. Look, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Let that man bask in the sunlight. He did something y'all never thought about doing, got the job done, made the race, and you're not in the point, so you want to cry about it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's just the way.
Rubbin's racing. He
That's
just happened
it.
to
That's
rubbing the
it.
wall. That's all.
Yeah, so what? Big deal.
Yeah. Oh, we can just go to next week and race again.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, we got a little bit more news. Haley Deegan, is going to run the full-time truck series this year, which, congratulations. Craftsman is coming back on board for the truck series, which it's just a little bit more of a comforting series. It's just, Craftsman truck series. It sounds appropriate.
Right.
Yeah, it does.
So Haley Deegan and SRX, she's going to be affiliated with that, probably on the dirt track, though. I don't know. I don't know exactly how many races she's going to be involved with, but I know she's going to be part of it.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's cool that Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick are going to do it.
That should be interesting to watch.
Yeah,
Yep.
because those two will wreck each other just to laugh about it.
It's not their car. They
No,
don't care.
yeah. But I mean that's going to be interesting. So that SRL will be good. SRX, excuse me, is going to be good, and Haley Deegan is going to be in a Ford. I don't know. She ain't impressed me yet when she's gotten to the upper echelon yet. She's got some proving to do before I'll make a comment.
We'll see what happens.
That's it.
Yeah, that's going to come up on Thursday nights now on ESPN, unlike it was in the previous Saturday night with CBS. But SRX series kicks off, I think, in June with a 6-race schedule. And we went over that last episode with some of the guys that are coming in full time. New drivers, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, that kind of thing. So, but anyway, we have a special guest that is going to be on the phone with us remotely. We're going to get to him in just a second. His name is John DeAngelis Jr. He's from Hubertus, Wisconsin, runs the ARCA Midwest Tour Series, as well as a lot of the other big races around. He travels in that super late model and pro late model series. And I think he's got some big news with maybe a Chris Wimmer,
Let's see.
maybe a crew chief, and traveling around this year with Chris with a new team. And we're going to find out a little bit more about that and more about John DeAngelis Jr. From Hubertus here in just a second.
Cool deal.
Okay, we're on the phone remotely with our special guest, John DeAngelis Jr. He's an ARCA Midwest Tour super late model hot shoe up there in Hubertus, Wisconsin. He does a lot of traveling and goes around a lot of big late model races, whether it's pro or super. He has been gracious enough to spend some time with us and tell us a little bit about his story and what he's got up his sleeve in 2023. So, John from the Short Track Guys podcast studio, thank you for taking the time out to be with us tonight, and tell us a little about what you got going on this year.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on here. I think we got a 14 race schedule going on for this year. We just released this past Monday that we had teamed up with Chris Wimmer, owner of Wimmer Motorsports. He used to house his own cars and take people to the track through a Toyota program, and he's no longer doing that. So we were able to secure a deal with Chris himself to house and maintain our cars throughout the season and get us to the track with winning cars for sure. I really look forward to that a lot. Chris and I have worked in the past a few times over the past few years, and every time we've worked together, we've had really good success, and we've even had a few wins together. So this year should be a pretty good one for sure. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, how is that camaraderie going when you probably running side by side and trading paint with Chris, and now you're working together? How has that relationship developed?
I think it's going to actually help that we were able to race side by side with each other back when he was still racing. Plus, with the cars that he'd take to the track, we'd race against some guys sometimes. Just he knows how I race. He gets like where I need more help by watching that when I did compete against him or one of his drivers, and we work well together, and I don't have to explain everything to him. Like, he can physically see what the car is doing. And, just knowing Chris over the past 6-7 years that we really got to know each other pretty good. I got a really good feeling about this year, and we're going to do some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. I've read a little bit about that story, and I'm really excited. We're all really excited for you this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is your 14 race schedule? Are you planning on racing up there only, or are you planning on coming this way some, or?
Mainly all the races are up here in the Midwest. It's so tough nowadays. 3 years ago, I started my own trucking company, and trying to find help is really hard to fill semis. It's just one of them deals. You gotta work to play, and unfortunately, I'd really like to race a lot more than what I have planned. It's just, I gotta do what I gotta do to make a living as well. So I think to have a 14 race schedule with how busy work is still a pretty good schedule for my business aspect of it, I guess you could say. I mean, I run a truck every day. I'm home 2 nights a week, mostly, and that's about it. So I'm gonna be running all week long and then showing up to the track with cars capable of winning. So, I mean, that helps huge with Chris, and that was one of my big deciding points. But, yeah, mainly up here. We are going to do a couple of races down south, the Rattler 250.
Cool.
Not as far south, but we're going to do the Redbud 400. And tentatively on the schedule, we do have the Derby, depending on how the year goes.
That's cool. We're glad to have you back down here. We've been missing you down here. Haven't seen you in a while. Thomas is a huge fan of yours, and we all started watching you when he started talking about you. And, we love to see you race down here. And I can understand the cost of diesel and everything else has just gotten outrageous. And I've heard a lot about, can't find any help. So I understand. And that's cool that you get to do that. And, with Chris Wimmer setting the cars up, like you said, he already knows how you drive. So, you should be right out of the trailer competitive without a whole lot of issues.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I had on for 3 races last year, and the first 2 races we set fast time and we led a bunch of laps, and just racing incidents happened and we didn't come out on top. But, the third race we ran, we were quick all day practice, quick in qualifying, and we won the first 75 lap feature, started 13th in the second, finished second in that feature. And, 5 more laps, so we would have won another one. But, yeah, I mean, traveling down south from up here, it's fun. I don't disagree that I'd love to be down there more. It's just, it's tough when sponsors up here don't really like to throw money at race cars like they used to. And I get it. Times are tough for everybody. But I'm hoping we can work something out with somebody between now and the Derby to actually get us down there and, help cover some of the costs, because the past couple of years it's just been my dad and myself. So.
Yeah, I can understand that. And there is a lot of local sponsors that do help teams that come from out of town around here. We see it all the time. Derek Thorne and a bunch of guys that come down here. Heck, you ought to give James Finch a call. He usually likes to help people. He buys tires for folks all the time. So.
Any help you can get in that regard, and you definitely sound like you're juggling chainsaws up there trying to keep a business going and the racing schedule as well. Can't be easy.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to juggle both. I had a full-time guy in the shop the past 3 years, and then he decided he wanted to go do something different, and that's when this whole deal with Chris Wimmer came about. Basically came down to either getting him to work on my stuff this year and crew chief it, or I was going to have to take a couple of years off to figure out what my best approach at going about to keep racing would be, whether it would be a 5-race year schedule or 14 like we have planned for this year. Just it's not one of them things that wanted to cross my mind, but at the same time, I got to keep a business going to stay alive, basically.
Oh, yeah.
That's understandable. Well, how did you get started in racing? What got you interested in getting behind the wheel of a race car?
Yeah, so back in 2009, my freshman year of high school, my dad used to help one of the local guys out up here, one of his best friends. He used to race a super late. And, I played football, played basketball, baseball, all them sports. Had an injury in one of the practices for football, and I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus all at once in my left knee.
Wow.
Ouch.
And so I was hobbling around on crutches, kind of upset that I couldn't play football that year, and doctors wanted to do surgery right away. Well, we didn't do surgery because they figured I'd heal with the growth spurt and all that, which I did. But they highly advised me not to play without surgery. And at that time, it was kind of against all odds that I decided, I'm like, hey, Dad, let's take me to the racetrack this weekend with you. Like, I never really was, I'd go, but I wasn't, super big into it because I was never in the pits. Well, he took me into the pits that weekend because he felt bad. And I said, maybe I should just do this instead of playing sports. Maybe I'll be able to get along with this a little bit better. And it kind of all just started from there. He made me buy my first car. I was, 15 at the time, and I had some money saved up. And I bought this little 4-cylinder car for, I think, $1,500, and it all kind of just went from there. And he made me the deal. If I won Rookie of the Year or the championship, he'd move me up. Well, we ended up breaking a hub off of I think it was a 1997 Ford Escort in qualifying. Well, it's a Sunday afternoon. No parts stores were open, and we were leading the championship, so we lost it by 2 points.
Oh.
Still won Rookie of the Year, so he goes, I had faith he could have done it, so he moved me up to a late model, and then ever since then, it kind of just progressed from there.
That's cool. Cool story. Yeah, heck yeah. Yep. And you race up there in the Midwest where there's so many legends.
Yes.
I mean, guys like Dick Trickle, Rich Bickle, Bob Seneker, Alan Kowicki. I mean, guys that I'm 52 years old, but when I was a little kid, a friend of my dad's took me to Five Flag Speedway, and I saw Gary Ballou win my first snowball derby I went to. Was 1980, and I watched him win it. And to watch those guys back then, and super late model racing to me is getting back to that. It's getting back to, rather than these rich kids doing it, it's actually people like you and Bubba Pollard and guys like that are actually racing to have fun, and you're putting on a show. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, without a doubt. Granted, you can't win every race, but you show up to the track wanting to win, and there's only one winner at the end of the day. But as long as you can leave the track and say, I had fun racing tonight, battling with really good guys. Like the Midwest up here, the competition is so fierce. I mean, you go to a track that brings 35 cars to a show, and there's 34 cars or even all 35 cars that are fully capable of winning. I mean, regardless if somebody breaks in practice, but almost every single car that shows up to the racetrack up here is fully capable of winning. And the competition is just so strong that it does help. I mean, it creates a better driver for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that was one of the things that Bubba Pollard brought up in that Stars meeting they had in Nashville, is that he didn't want you guys messed with. He said, because super late model racing in your area of the country is stronger than it is anywhere else in the country.
Right.
And Bubba said, I don't want those guys messed with. We need to make a set of rules to go towards them, not them come towards us. I thought that was very significant and pretty cool of him to say that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with him at all. I mean, the only thing I wish we were on up here were 4 barrels. That's about the only difference. I love coming down there and racing on a 4 barrel. It really makes a driver have to drive the car and not so much just let the car do its own deal. And I feel like part of that could be some of the why everybody's so close up here. I mean, you're taking away a little bit of power, so it's a little bit easier to manage.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pro late versus a super late.
Right. I feel like a lot of guys don't really like traveling down south only because of that. I mean, that's all they've really known up here was 2 barrels, and they're like, 4 barrel, we might get scared. But for me, like, that's just a challenge. Like, I love a good challenge, And every year we've come for the Derby. I think it took me 4 attempts to make it, or 3 attempts before I made my first Derby, and we made the next 2 or 3 in a row. And, the last time we were down there, we missed it by 1 spot. It's just, it was one of them years where we were off a little bit, and we needed to be a little bit better.
It doesn't take, but just the tiniest bit off on the setup, and you miss the Derby. I mean, you can be out by 1,000th of a second. It just doesn't take long at all.
Oh, there was, I think this year, what the difference between making it and not making it was like, 0.3 of a second?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. Between 30th spot getting in was 3 tenths.
0.333 to 0.563.
Yep, that's crazy. Yep. Well, let me ask you this. This is something I'm always curious about with you super late guys. Back in the day, before they had all this bump rubber stuff and the stealing the car off and all this stuff, the cars were on springs and shocks, and the car had to work, and the driver had to work more. Which do you think would be better to drive? The old school cars where the driver has to be behind the wheel, or where you have to have all this technology to make the car work?
It's a tough call. I mean, when I first started super lates back in 2014, I was new to it. I didn't really want to go all full in on bump stops, and it was a lot to learn. I pretty much did my first 2 years of super late on my own with just, kind of trying to teach myself. And I didn't have really high expectations and all that with being in my first 2 years. It's a big jump from what we have up here as limited late models on 8-inch tires to 10-inch tires, way more motor, adjustable shocks, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I ran my first year on conventional setup and then went to like the bump springs and all that. I mean, I feel like at where I ran mainly Wisconsin Dells and Slinger, I could make conventional stuff work against the guys that were running the bump stop stuff. I mean, my third night out in a super late at Slinger, I finished third, so I thought that was pretty good. With that was at the time where Lowell Bennett, Brad Miller, Steve Apel, all them guys were really, really fast. I mean, there was probably like any given Sunday night at Slinger, there was 20 out of 25 cars that are really fast, and then there's me in the 5-car bracket where I'm like, I'm kind of out to lunch. I'm new to this, and I finished third, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Absolutely. That's one of the things we kind of kick around here a lot is how money is kind of ruining a lot of things in a lot of the classes now, because it just seems like you can basically buy a championship, and I don't agree with that at all, because I just don't like somebody just come and spend a whole lot of money and basically buy the championship rather than having to work for it. And it sounds like you've had to work for it a whole lot more than some people haven't. And then you appreciate more what you've accomplished, I'm sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we're not winning 15 races a year, You got guys like Majeski, like him and Toby, they're a great combo. I like the both of them, and I give them all the props. But, Toby never gives up. He's always working on how to be better in the shop, and Ty is always learning more and more every time he gets out on track. And I don't feel like they're a team that spends a lot of money, so they appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah.
And they're doing their work in the shop where it needs to be done. And I feel like this year, with picking up Chris Wimmer, like he's one of them guys. Over the years, I've accumulated so many shocks, and he's like, "You're selling 3/4 of these." He goes, we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to work harder to make wins, and that's what we're going to do. And I'm totally fine with that. Like, I'd rather feel more accomplished by spending less money at the end of the year and have 4 or 5 wins under our belt.
Well, I'm always a firm believer, and I can't tell my friends, I race street stocks. Keep it simple, stupid. the KISS principle, because the simpler you make it, to me, the better off I do. If I try to complicate things, I'll screw the car up so bad I can't drive it. And last 2021, we won the championship at Five Flags in my class, and I rarely scaled the car. I mean, I didn't mess with it. I knew what I wanted, the feel that I wanted. And once I got the feel that I wanted, I had the speed that I wanted. We won races and we won the championship. But so many people overcomplicate things. They hire too many engineers, or they spend all this money at this. I mean, I was racing against guys that were getting DG Performance to build them shocks, and I got a buddy of mine that doesn't have a shock dyno. He builds them with his hands. He just builds them himself. He knows what he wants. We run the QA1s. He knows what valving he wants to put in them, and every time he builds me a set of shocks, the car goes faster.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I mean, we run really well at the Dells Raceway Park up here by us. I've always loved that track. I've been going there since I started in 4-cylinders. And we won, I think it was 2 years ago, we won the following 150, and we won the following this past year. Throughout the whole year, we didn't change a single thing on the setup, and I think we podiumed almost every race we ran there.
That's cool.
Didn't change a thing, just unloaded with what we know worked, and it worked every single night we were there. And I couldn't be happier because we weren't chasing our tails through the practice sessions, qualifying, nothing like that.
Yeah, I can take my car out, and I can make about we got in a wreck one night and bent some stuff, and we changed it, and Tim Bryant said, well, bring it out and run a couple laps. There's a couple cars here. I unloaded it, made 7 laps, brought it in, and went right back on the trailer. My crew chief goes, what? And I go, we don't need to do nothing else. Are you sure? I said, what's lap times? He told me, I said, we're just as fast as when we unloaded it last time. We went out the next week and won the race. So, I mean, you're right about that. You can do that, but technology's gotten way expensive. I mean, you got late model teams that have 4 or 5 cars. Yeah. Donnie Wilson being one of them, and I like Donnie, but man, the kind of money he's making off super late model racing right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I like Donnie. He's a good guy. I get along with him very well, and I got to agree with you. Like the technology that's coming out for all this stuff is, I hate to say it, I don't want to see it happen, but I hope it doesn't kill the sport of super late racing. Right. I mean, a lot of lower budget teams that don't have a 30,000 square foot warehouse shop to do this stuff at, it's gonna dial them out because they're just gonna get beyond frustrated that they can't keep up.
Well, yeah, and Donnie Wilson's team is in North Carolina, so they can take you to a pull down rig, or if there's somebody who wants to check aero, they can do that. I don't agree with that. I think that we should keep it where, because we had a discussion over super late dirt racing versus asphalt racing. I said, well, there's no cup influence in the dirt side, and those guys race for a living. Used to be you had guys like Gary Blue, Mark Martin, Alan Kowicki, Bob Seneca. Those guys raced for a living. Right. They ran all over the Southeast. They ran the North. They ran up there with y'all. They ran all over the place, and they made money racing super late models. Well, the prize money doesn't cover what you spend anymore. It used to be close. You could make a living with some sponsors. But now, if you got to spend that money on shock engineers and this guy and that guy and this, that, and the other, a good super late's $100,000. I mean, people used to build them themselves.
Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore, no.
Yeah, the cost of everything going up definitely doesn't help neither. I mean, you can't really bring a knife to a gunfight, so they say. And I feel like nowadays you gotta be in one of the top 3 cars to be able to compete for a win. And there's some guys back here at home that used to swear by their older cars, and they've come to realize in the past couple of years they weren't winning 6-7 races on a weekly night, so they went out and had to buy new cars just to do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and the technology changes, but I've seen years past that technology's come back around. Like Dick Anderson down South Florida a few years ago put big springs back on the car and started winning again. I see technology sometimes. The old technology comes back through. It's a little different, but it's still basically the same, and you can win with it.
Yep, everything always seems to make a full circle, that's for sure.
It definitely does. Even in street stock racing, you'll start with a junk car, and then they'll get faster, and eventually they'll die out, and then they'll come back with another junk class, and it'll build up. The class I run in, we're still keeping it under control. We're trying to avoid going to outboard shocks and all that stuff. But I mean, the money that you spend, you got to be able to make some of it back. I mean, you can't just keep spending yourself into an oblivion.
Right. You'll bleed yourself dry. It's just crazy. Yeah. I mean, I've heard about these guys who run these outlaw cars. They're spending $80,000 on an outlaw. Come on. That's just ridiculous.
I agree.
Yep.
Well, I mean, he's got a family life. He's got a business. He's a super late model driver up against some fierce competition. He just explained that we witnessed. How does someone like that in your stable juggle all that and make all that happen? It's got to be really, really a tight management situation.
Yeah, like I said before, it's a lot to juggle. I do all my own book work. I do all my mechanical fixes, I guess you could say, on all my trucks and trailers, and driving every day. It's definitely tough and stressful to manage. I think it was Anderson Bowen. I don't remember how long ago it was now, but I give him props for when he did decide to hang it up because work overcame his life. And unfortunately, racing isn't all about living. As much as I love it, like it's always going to be in my blood, and I know one day it's going to come down to it to where it's just you gotta focus on life in itself and unfortunate circumstances. But I give him props for releasing the letter that he did years ago, just stating that life got too busy, work is too busy, and you gotta do what you gotta do. And that thought has crossed my mind more than once, but it's something in my blood that I'm still going to find a way to do it. A couple races a year if I have to.
Well, Kyle Plott's another one we lost. Yeah. The Plott boys racing, they actually shut their operation down because of the cost.
Yep.
We hate to see we lose people like that. People like you and Bubba and some of these guys. Man, you're the heart of the sport, and we love to have you guys race. We don't. The big rich kids, they come and go. They come in, race a little while, and then they go on to their NASCAR or whatever. You guys are racing because you love it. You're not doing it because you're going to go to the Cup Series or run a truck. And to me, you guys are the heart of our sport.
Just last year, Derek Thorne lost his team. Campbell shut down. So
yeah. Derek Thorne lost his ride after winning the Snowball Derby.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely tough, for us guys that do it for the heart. And a lot of us don't get the big sponsors that help out, and they're all going, like you said, the kids that are all going up to NASCAR, which understandable. It's more of a televised thing, et cetera, et cetera. But, for the guys that are doing it out of heart, it's getting really tough. Any given race you're going to, whether it's a one-day show or a two-day show, you're looking at $5,000 just for a one-day show.
Right.
Yeah, that's another thing that I think they should do is lower the laps by, if it's a 200 lapper, make it a 150 lapper. If it's a 150 lapper, make it a 100 lapper. And control the cost of the tires. That's one thing they can do. And also a one-day show with limited practice. I think if you could do that, it would help the sport.
Definitely.
Without a doubt. I love the Derby a lot, and it's an expensive race to come to. And that was kind of our deciding factor last year. After I think it was 21, we were having tire shortages really bad, and you see guys that rolling out just trailer loads of tires down on the main pit road, and it's like, how do you compete against this when they're putting tires on every practice that they've accumulated over the year, or have a hookup from the tire manufacturer? And that kind of really turned me down to come down there last year, and the cost of everything. And it's just one of them things that makes you go, I kind of feel defeated before we even hit qualifying or the race, knowing that they've been on new tires all weekend and I'm on old stuff.
Yeah, we had two races last year in the class I run, or 2021 when I won the championship. We had to run old tires, and one of them I won coming from the back and won the race. And boy, you should have heard them screaming about me soaking tires. Ricky Brooks took my tires off the rim. He didn't just break the bead and sniff. He pulled them off, looked at them. Because everybody was crying I run soaks, but I didn't. I put my hand on the Bible. I didn't do it. But you were right about the tire situation. I was getting better. When I went down to New Smyrna, you were only allowed to bring 2 tires. They weren't allowing you to buy 4. And we have a 2-tire rule in the class that I run. So I kind of like that. It helps control costs. But I understand the super, you can't do that. But they can limit the set. You can have 1 set for practice and 1 set for the race, and give you 2 hours worth of practice, and that's it. And I think that would save teams like you and allow teams with less funding to have a shot at the win.
Well, the one thing about Five Flags is you can put new tires on as much as you want to. If you get late in the race and you can't change the tires, you better be able to drive, because that place will wear tires out, and you better be able to.
I know JD knows that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
But I mean, if you put everybody out there in the late snowball derby on old tires,
Yeah.
that's going to be a show because it's going to be whoever's got the biggest set of nuts to drive it off in there, turn it sideways, and hang on to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, JD, your 14 race schedule this year, is there one on that 14 race schedule that you've got your eye on? Because we short track guys have been talking about what we started with a wheelbarrow list, and then it went to a dumpster, and now it's like a container list. Is there one of those races on your schedule that kind of marks to where you've got to put on your shoulders?
Yeah, one in particular, the Dixieland 250 up at Kaukauna. I've led so many laps of that race over the past 4 years, and it just seemed like one thing after another each year. And, that's a really big one that I want to knock off the list, and I feel like we can do it. Every year I've done it, I've been by myself because my other crew chiefs were either racing in it themselves or they were helping somebody else. And I believe we've led probably out of the last 4 races, we probably led over 300 laps. And,
Wow.
we've just always had a really, really strong car there. And I feel like that's a race I can really succeed at. And I run well there. So that's one that I've definitely been wanting to get.
That sounds like Derek's look at the Derby, getting knocked out.
We talking about bad look, my look at the Derby. I have a fast car, and every time somebody dumps me, I got stuck in a wall in 2021 coming off the corner. This kid just makes a right turn, and I was at his door, and we both go in head first, destroyed both cars for like no reason.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
Oh, yeah, my Derby luck sucks.
Yeah.
Finally had that car working right, too.
Oh, yeah, that car won. I ran that car for several years. It won the championship, and then it got completely destroyed, so...
Start from scratch.
Well, ever since that, I was next to the DeAngelis crew at the snowplate, but they came down several years ago. It was like 04, 05, 06, something. I was really, really impressed and intrigued at how they work together as a team. I really got the idea of how that stuff comes together, and he had a big finish. I think he ended up finishing 7th in the snowplake, and then we kept seeing him year after year. Not just here in Pensacola, but through the ARCA Midwest Tour. He's making travels to other situations and really opening eyes and being a family man,
a businessman,
and a super late model driver. Now you've got a crew chief, Chris Wimmer.
Yes.
Big things coming in a 14 race schedule this year. John, we have. We're really, really excited and happy for you. We can't wait to keep up with you and see what happens this year.
And if you win one, we'd love to have you back on. Please.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, give me a shout. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome, man. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, we're short track guys. That's what we do.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
right, John. John DeAngelis Jr. from Hubertus, Wisconsin, ARCA Midwest Tour Hot Shoe, on the phone with us. It was great to talk to you, and thanks for taking the time out to be with us and shed a little bit of a light of what you've got going on and a little bit more about your story. Look forward to keeping up with it, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Have a good evening.
All right.
Yeah, you too.
Good night, JD.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Wow, that was cool.
Yeah. So that was John DeAngelis from Hubertus, ARCA Midwest Tour.
Yep.
Good deal.
Short track guy style.
Fun.
That's right. Enjoyed that. So,
Yeah.
A lot.
Well, gentlemen, it's been another awesome Wednesday.
Yes.
Always enjoy this with you guys. I look forward to getting off work and coming over here and sitting down and talking short track racing, and that's cool. We got another great guest on our show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, shooting the short track guys stuff.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, do we have a different language? I can do it in German.
Okay. Well,
Do it. Let's try that.
Eins, zwei, drei.
Let's go, Brandon. Good night, everybody.
Be strong, America.
Thanks for listening.